Welcome to the Encore Audio Archives YouTube channel. I'm Taper Dave, and this is my channel. I've uploaded hundreds of talks here that I've recorded at meetings in West LA, and I've also recorded conventions starting in 2013. I've got a bunch of those up. And Walt and Mary Murray, the original owners of Encore Audio Archives, started the company in the 80s, and Walt recorded Joe and Charlie's and a bunch of stuff down in Vista, California. My sobriety date is June 20th of 1994. I hope you find something you like, so please like and subscribe to my channel and comment down below. If you want to hear something that I don't have or that you don't see, I'll see that I get it. Anyways, take care and have a great day if you want to.
Okay, I'm a speaker now. My name is Easy, and I'm an alcoholic. And my best definition of myself is an individual who had both feet firmly planted in mid-air. So I can identify with some of the talks that I've heard down here at this meeting. And this has been a great year for me. I have met more new faces. People have the same problem that I have and have recovered. And it's just a wonderful thing to go from place to place. And now that I'm up in my 80s, no holds are barred. I get hugged, I get kissed, I get my picture taken, like some kind of celebrity. And I'm just a drunk. And I didn't do anything to deserve it, but things just get better and better. And my daily life is blessed. I wake up blessed, I go to bed blessed. And I have just good experiences happening all the time. All my family is well and happy, and none of them smoke, drink, carry matches, or use profanity. No dopers. But you see, they saw me grow up. And I tell you, this one little 5-year-old daughter, and her name was Peggy. And Peggy was with me the day the police pulled me over. In fact, my mother-in-law was in there, and my other 2 children, and my wife. And I was speeding. I always used to drive too fast. I had wrecked 14 cars, so I'm a good driver. And he pulled me over, and he talked. I had a new car, I was trying to see if it run good. Because I think I had 14 cars prior to getting into AA, and I never did pay for one. But I did wreck them. And the insurance was just out of the picture for me. There wasn't no way for insurance. So anyway, Peggy, when the police officer pulled me over, got off his motorcycle and stopped me. And I rolled the window down. He wanted to see my driver's license. I gave it to him. And then he started in on me that I was in Florida, and we don't let people drive like that coming down here. I've been back off a little bit. And he said, I could actually put you in jail. And, my little 5-year-old daughter who grew up in AA, she thought AA was better than the church. She thought, well, boy, they just had grandiose ideas about AA. She spoke up and said, you can't talk to my father like that. He's an alcoholic. But I didn't go to jail. But see, it's been like that all along. Wherever I am, whatever blessings are needed, they just come along. And all I did was join AA and live one day at a time. And these sponsors, oh my goodness. Nobody can drink that's got 7 sponsors. Now I can give you their names, and I know them. And they were right there all the time. I couldn't drink. I worked with them. They'd come to the house at 4 o'clock in the morning, want to know what the coffee's on. And my wife said, what are these people? Don't they know a difference between night and day? And she said, but it's better now than it was before. Okay. So off I went. I went 300 miles north. I always stayed in my car. That's the reason I had so many wrecks. And I stayed drunk up there, and then I came back to Jacksonville, went to Miami. So I got there was about 30 days there, and I was at the end of the line. I got back, the house, everything was just completely gone. I mean, it was just gone. So that's what she went call. She called New York, and that same night the secretary called me. And that morning I had gone. A man, he was going to let me cut his lawn so I wouldn't drink that day. So I went over to his house, and he was always nice to me. His guy had a lot of boats. You know, he loved boats. And we worked together as salesmen there, right, with the Jacksonville Gas Company. So he let me get out there, and then I called about the employment, and they said, come over to the employment office. And I went to the employment office, and I met the employment manager, and he gave fixed legs and bandages and stuff like that. One of them had his arm in a sling, another one was on crutches. And it wasn't too promising. There was 12 people there, you know, and I was looking around. I said, well, you know, I may not be this bad. Like the fellow that died said, well, I didn't get him there. He said, well, he wasn't that bad. And I was bad. Well, they started out on me. I didn't even have a car at this time. And they gave me a bunch of literature to read, you know. And we had meetings twice a week. And Jacksonville was a kind of a city where a lot of people just traveled through there, you know, going to Miami for the winter or wherever. And I had these people, a lot of them would come by AA because money in those days wasn't too plentiful, you know, and picking up $2 or $3 was good for them, you know, to keep going. So I got a liberal education in working with alcoholics. And I would everywhere I'd go, I'd tell them I'm an alcoholic. If I went to the dentist, I said I'm an alcoholic. They don't give me anything I'd tell my prescription doctor and everything. And he said, well, this guy says that alcohol is a disease, you know. Well, I hadn't thought of it as a disease. I knew it wasn't contagious. But anyhow, here I was in Jacksonville, and I called on this guy, and he was from Long Island. The dentist gave me his name, and I went and knocked on his door and told him I was an alcoholic. His wife came to the door, told him I'm an alcoholic, and I understand your husband has a drinking problem. And if he can, I'd like to talk to him. She said, well, let me go back and see. So she went back to the bedroom, talked to him, came back about 5 minutes and said, he said, get all the information and you let me know. Okay, he's the guy that took me sailing later on. He had a big sailboat, and he'd take me sailing. First time in my life I've ever been in a sailboat, you know. And we'd get out there and race and all those sort of things. And just seemed like all these people I'd meet, you know, just... And I got one time I had an AA meeting, and the Gideons came in and wanted to know if they could put their Bibles around. And I said, well, I don't see anything wrong with that. There's something wrong. I lived through it. But he wanted us to get up and sing. You ever heard drunks sing? Sober drunks. Well, that was another experience. And these people would come in there wholesale, you know, from the shipyards of war, you know, World War II. The shipyards were loaded with people, you know, just down there from all parts of the country. And I worked for that's where I started off my career, in the shipyard, because prior to that, the gas company, the World War started and wasn't nothing to sell. And by that time, I'd done started drinking again anyhow. So I was away in the shipyards. So started out 45 cents an hour, grinding the wine, the steel, the deck work, and all those tunnels and stuff in the ship. Had to grind the well off of them, right on the river there. That wasn't too good a job. And then I was promoted to the warehouse. That wasn't much better, because that stuff coming in there was stuff I never seen before in my life. The receiving department, you know. And then they made an expediter out of me. And then they made, I was controlling just the more and more things. I get more and more responsibility. So this went on, and doing fine, you know, going to the all AA meeting. I couldn't miss AA meeting. They told me, don't you miss an AA meeting. And I didn't. And I might tell you, I had a little habit of playing pool, you know. I picked up down the road when I got to be an usher in the theater when I first graduated from high school. And I got pretty good at it. And I like to play pool, but I laid that stick down when the meeting started. They said, you lay it down. And I don't miss meetings like that. And the day, even to this day, the day I go to AA, I don't go to the pool room. And I've been, you know, I played some pretty good players, you know. I can't brag, you know, you can't brag in AA, but I played 4 of them. It's in the Hall of Fame, and I beat one of them. So I had that ability to do something, and in a way, you know, it kept me out of other ways of misdemeanor because I would spend more hours there, more time in there. And I had a wife and 3 children, and my wife at this time, she had become a vice president of the bank, and she was listed in Who's Who of American Women, and she was Personalities of the South, and she loved AA. And I had a guy that was bad to come in at times when Jackson went in, and she tried some cases. She got to be an attorney. And he would come in, I said, now don't let him in. And when I got home that night from the meeting, she had his feet, bathing his feet. You know, and that's the way she was. She was a personnel director before that, and people get divorces and she'd get them back together. And some of them had twins after that. Well, in the meanwhile, I picked up a toy poodle in Columbus, Georgia, about 1 o'clock in the morning one day, and I took her over there. She wanted a toy poodle. Well, as a result of that, I had to cut the hair for 36 toy poodles over this time. And the whole idea was her to furnish these dogs to people, you know, that had bad luck and distress and things like that. And we would get letters from all over the country about the dog. They'd send us pictures. My wife had pictures that big of the dog. And I had a dog that would hold resentments. It's the only dog I ever had out of that 36 that would hold, and he was the highest bred of them all. And he knew what I was going to do before I did. And he held the resentment to the point that if you ugly to him, he would wet your pillow, you know. I guess that was just his way of getting even. But I learned a lot from these dogs. And that went on. So we had all these things, and we had these 3 children, like they were 1, 2, 3, and then now they're 59, 60, and 61. And they're all contented, happy, and like I say, they're all doing well. And I get to visit. I can go to the seashore, I can go to the mountains, you know. Or I can just go anywhere. Now, my wife died 15 years ago, and she had she had some of her stomach removed, but she lived 10 years in treatment, was being able to be treated for those 10 years. And that was my time to make restitution to her for all the times I had spent away, you know. So I felt a little bit forgiven, and it worked with the family. But see, what AA does, it makes these decisions for you. It provides something that's there, that is available. And it don't look possible. You know, it just don't look possible. And just like you've heard in these talks, these things, the things that are going on in people's minds, you know, that dream. Now, my biggest problem today is dreaming that I'm out of a job. Well, I don't dream I'm out of a job. I do. I worry about my commissions for that month, and then I wake up and it takes me 5 minutes to find out I don't have a job. So I've been retired 20 years. Come this past month, this past November 15th, as my retirement date. And I worked for a wonderful company. And they wouldn't take me on at first. They had 3 executives had to decide. Now, this is my 3rd gas company, you know, and they couldn't decide. I'm not telling, I guess I'm telling you what happened in the early days. That's what I'm supposed to be saying. But this happened. And this company had accepted me. 2 of the men voted for me, and the other one didn't. And he had a drunk he's worked with at his station, and that's the reason he didn't want me, you know. Well, I came in there. I got the job. They told me to report to Montgomery on November 10th, 1945. And I've been sober 3 years. And I came into the group up there and told them I'd been sober 3 years. Nobody believed it. Nobody. So as time went on, they let me in. And the bad thing about it, we were meeting in the police department, where they hand out fines. And I had spent so many days in that department waiting for that judge to decide what to say me to me. And he knew I had 3 small children, and he was rough on me. He talked real mean. I'm not sure I fully forgive him. But he helped. And then I went to Hillcrest. And they liked me out there, and they made an outpatient out of me. Hillcrest was a place where, they could, I guess everybody knows about Hillcrest in Birmingham. But anyhow, I was an outpatient for 90 days, and it was the worst time I ever spent in my life. 90 days sober and wanting to drink every hour. And I finally, you got to find an excuse before you drink, you got to find an alibi. So I did. And that was the beginning of my bad, the ending, you might say, of my bad behavior drinking. So the thing that impressed me is when I met the people that I met in AA. Among them was Bill Wilson, who came to Jacksonville, Florida, at the Windsor Hotel. And we had dinner and we had a meeting. And he couldn't go. We wouldn't let him go. We stayed there till wee hours of the night asking him questions, And I asked him this question. I said, Bill, we got a club room down here, and a lot of transients come through here, get in here and sleep and get drunk and smoke and all that. What can you do about it? He said, well, the things in AA, he said, the good things will stick. He said, the bad things will eliminate themselves. Not true. But meeting a guy like that, and all the other people that I met, and these 7 sponsors, some of them were vice presidents, and everywhere I'd go, I was welcome. And that wasn't the case. But early on, that wasn't the case. So when I was a serviceman, we couldn't sell stuff, so they made a serviceman out of us for half of a day. And by that time, I was drinking some. And we go in a bar, and this guy and I, we drank there until we were broke. And I said, could we establish some credit? He said, we don't give credit. I said, well, either that or I'll get your gas cut off. Which you prefer? And I could have turned it off. See, I had a wrench like that. Well, I came back early the next morning to apologize. But that's how stupid and how crazy the things I did. And I would wreck cars. In my head, I'd get my head under the hood by the time the police were coming up, and I'd stick my head under there. And so he couldn't see me, I'd tell him, he said, well, you got to get this car off the road. I was up in some lady's front yard. I drove up the steps. And I got out of that. But a lot of them I didn't get out of because the car was just completely demolished. And it seems that I hit the things which caused me the most trouble, which brought me to AA that much earlier. I started off just hitting small cars, scraping fenders and things like that. The final car I hit was highway patrol. You think that ain't easy to get out of, So the judge did give me 6 months. And that activated my mother to pick up the AA book. That activated me to go from Birmingham to Jacksonville. And that got me in AA. And AA just got better all the time. I could just stay here and tell you for hours how wonderful it was. We would take our wives down to the Mayflower Hotel for coffee after the AA meeting. We'd let them have highballs and we'd drink coffee, see. And those waitresses was kind of looking at me. But those guys, there's one of them named Walter Thornton. And I met his son in Jacksonville. His son's been in AA for 22 years. And another guy I met, he was one of my sponsors. And a lady recognized his name down in when I was talking, Sanford, Florida, talked down there in Orlando, had a meeting over there, had a big meeting there just not too long ago. And it just seemed like this, all the pictures come together, and the things just get better and better and better. Now, I've had a few physical things, you know, but I had doctors, you know. I had doctors, and if a doctor gives me 90 days, I'm in good shape. If he gives me 30 days, I got to watch out, see. My doctor just retired. Now, here I am now without a doctor. And when you get 85, you outgrow a lot of people. But the way it all turns around, I had a tree fall on my house. Turned out to be a blessing. Cost $42,500. I wasn't under the tree. The tree hit the swimming pool and the deck, knocked the swimming pool, the greenhouse, and the deck down. I didn't need any of them, see, since my wife wasn't ready to work flowers anymore. So the insurance paid for everything and gave me $25,000 to boot. Just because AA, see? The adjuster, my wife had taught him Spanish, see. He was one of our students. The man who made the adjustments. And just all those little things just work. And what I don't deserve it. But I belong to the greatest group of people. And there's no more truth. There's just no more truth anywhere than there is right here in this program. And I've never, ever found it to fail. And with that, I'm going to get the next guy up here.
I think we got a great talk going on here. Thanks for watching the channel. Taper Dave here. Just curious, do you think this is better than Zoom? Okay, this is how I prepare my drone for launching. I like to do it inside the cab of my truck so I'm not standing outside in the weather. To install the joysticks for control, up and down, right and left, powered on. I have an Android phone that I use to connect it to the drone with. And it's actually controlled through the iPhone, through an app. Oops, wrong way. It's actually controlled through the iPhone, or through this Android phone, through the app. It's actually controlled through the Android phone, through an app, and you connect it through this short connection right here.
Remote control connected.
Remote control's connected. So I pull out the drone. I have to extend the legs. Long legs extended first, then the short legs. Remove the gimbal protector. Set that aside, then power it on one short burst, then one long burst. I lay it down. So I have to go to calibrate. So the drone's not connected yet. It shows you here as this drone gets disconnected, even though the remote's powered on. So the drone has to establish it's connected. So I go into the app to calibration mode. First I'll calibrate the remote controller. Start calibration. Out, in, oop, out, in, up, down, and then this little wheel is to control the gimbal. So it's calibrated. Go to gimbal calibration, start calibration, and then it calibrates the gimbal. I don't know if that shows up. The gimbal's moving all over the place. Changes, you can see it on the video. And I'm calibrated to take off. It's acquired 7 satellites at the moment. There are 26 satellites up in the sky which it has to acquire before you can take off. So it's connected. It's got enough satellites. This is white. I can go to press this little arrow button, swipe right to take off, and it would start the motors if I slid this to the right, but I'll wait till I get outside. Don't want to do it inside.